Hello and welcome to The Lucky Roll, an eclectic channel for eclectic games. And today we're reviewing Mass Effect, the board game, Priority Hagalaz. Mass Effect, Priority Hagalaz is a 1 to 4 player cooperative dungeon crawling game with minor narrative elements that take place during the events of the third Mass Effect computer game. Players control the series' protagonist along with their team on a mission to investigate a crashed Cerberus research cruiser on the planet Hagalaz and ultimately to attempt to stop Cerberus from salvaging any research from it. The story, such as it is, takes place over 3 missions, or 5 if you decide to power up 2 of your teammates with set loyalty missions. The narrative and difficulty of the game changes slightly depending on the level of success of the previous mission or whether it ended in failure, with the game session entirely ending with the 3rd mission. There are 16 overall missions, including 4 specialized loyalty missions for your teammates that ensures that you can have multiple varied playthroughs of this game. The components for the game are exceptional, given the retail price from Modiphius, and whilst the game is a tad token heavy, it is not insurmountable, and all of the game mechanics are clear and concise. The board itself is a laminated book, and whilst functional, does seem compact. However, I feel that this is to facilitate the everyman aspect of the game. The table space saved by the compact board, however, is negated with the absurdly large character sheets, which, while stylish, take up an inordinate amount of room on the table. The character sheets are also laminated and can be written on with a wet marker to mark progress and characters leveling up. However, this can also be problematic on solo player, as player sheets tend to get stacked on each other to maximize table space, and the mark sheets can be wiped as a result. The combat system is fun. Per round, the starting player rolls 12 dice and keeps 3. The following player then rolls 9 dice and keeps 3. The third player rolls 6 dice, and so on. If a player rolls a star, the character's special power is leveled up and they get to re-roll the die so that the characters are generally pretty powerful throughout the game. There are 2 main enemy factions in the game: the Cerberus terrorists and the alien Reaper monsters themselves. Both operate fairly differently, and to the game's credit, there is nice variety in the main bosses and monsters. Every character that is killed or downed can be revived with the exception of Shepard themselves, so the game difficulty isn't overly hard and players knocked down can be brought back into play relatively quickly. The narrative story of the game is fine. To be honest, it's pretty light, but that is to be expected, as this would be a standard side mission if it were to take place in the main computer game itself. At certain points, you read from a narrative booklet depending on the mission result and the direction you take, but anyone expecting an elaborate Mass Effect story here will be disappointed. That's not to fault the character portrayals by the writer of the narrative book, as the character quirks, although brief, are captured quite perfectly with the usual quips, interactions and observations, but you aren't going to get much more than that. What is there, however, is on point, with one particular moment describing how Garrus made a point of carrying Tali to safety, which will resonate with anyone who's a major fan of the games. Of the people I played this game with, one, by the name of Jack, was a massive Mass Effect fan, and Tony had only played a chunk of the first game but not completed it. Jack, who was the huge Mass Effect fan, was besotted with the game. When asked after it to be objective about his view of the game, he said, and I quote, "Objectivity is out the window, I'm in love." Tony, who wasn't a huge Mass Effect fan, found it a fun experience, and to be honest, the light narrative touch was possibly a bonus, as it allowed him to enjoy the experience without having to absorb excessive lore or narrative to do so. As for myself, I would consider myself a huge Mass Effect fan, and to be honest, I was quite surprised that I didn't take to the game as much as Jack did. Now, that's not to say I didn't enjoy the game, but I guess I found it a bit too streamlined for my taste. Mass Effect has always been an epic experience for me, and to find it presented to me in just a bite-sized chunk just grated with me a little bit, perhaps. Do I regret buying the game? Absolutely not. Mofidius has done an excellent job here, but I would love a more substantial experience in the future with a larger overarching campaign and a singular side villain as opposed to just varied scenarios. I am a big fan of the Star Wars Imperial Assault games, and the branching path here reminded me of that genre. However, Star Wars Imperial Assault, whilst much more substantive and with a much better narrative story, it wouldn't be as friendly a casual player dungeon crawling game as Mass Effect is. And I think the decision by Mofidius to streamline the Mass Effect board game is the correct one, as this would be picked up by a lot of non-board gamers seeking to immerse themselves in the Mass Effect universe just one more time. Viewing this from a business sense, it's the logical choice, as you want the game to be as accessible to as many people as possible, especially given the intellectual property involved. Viewing this as a dedicated board gamer, however, this is a casual light game with a nice Mass Effect universe skin applied to it that whets the appetite but doesn't quite fill you up. If you're reviewing this video with an eye for buying this game as a present for a loved one who is a major Mass Effect fan but not a board gamer, then get it. The price point here is exceptional value for money. If they're an avid board gamer and Mass Effect fan, then get it, because they will appreciate a casual light dungeon crawler game with the skin of one of their favorite franchises. If you're an avid board gamer and not a Mass Effect fan, then you aren't missing much. However, given the utter dedication of the fan base to this intellectual property, you might be pleasantly surprised at how many people would be willing to play this game with you. And the price of the game, again, is a big factor here. You are legitimately getting excellent value for money in both game components and replay with this game. So if you have a €50 note burning a hole in your pocket and some spare room on your board game shelf, you could do a lot worse than picking this game up. As always, if you enjoy these videos, please like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. And until next time, this is Sean from The Lucky Roll, signing off.